alive here in the future. All right, let's move along to another pundit who had a take on the Packers. I think you guys are going to be happy with this one. Mr. Dan Orlovsky. Now, listen, I don't know if people like Dan Orlovsky or not. I enjoy his insight. I understand he was not a good NFL quarterback. I don't think anybody's ever going to argue that. But the fact that he made it to the National Football League level and stayed in the league for as long as he did, I think it says a lot about Dano. And anyone who understands football, the beautiful thing about once you learn how to watch tape and you learn the X's and O's and you really start to press into understanding the game at a different level, when someone talks about breaking down the tape, you can tell real quick whether they're a fraud or not. Dano is not a fraud when it comes down to breaking down the tape. This dude knows the game of football inside and out. I think he's well-spoken. I think he's got a good attitude. I like the fact that he is so, what's the word I'm looking for here? Bold in his Christian faith. He'll talk about that. I appreciate that, especially on ESPN, where that'll get your ass run off the network. You know what I mean? I love the fact that he's very bold in that regard. But here's what Dan Orlovsky had to say. This was on the Pat McAfee show. I think it was earlier today, and or maybe it was yesterday. It was actually yesterday. They were asking him about the Green Bay Packers. More specifically, this is A.J. Hawk, which, by the way, is up for the Hall of Fame this year, right? He's a nominee, but first time I believe he made the what I guess it's called nomination, right? Where you kind of make you clear the first wave of whatever it is.
First year eligibility, I believe.
Yeah. I don't know if it's first year. Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is first year eligibility. Nonetheless, so there are people that are voting on A.J. Hawk being in the Hall of Fame. Do I think he's a Hall of Famer? No, I don't. But he's one of my favorite Packers of all time, man. Love the way that dude played the game.
Anyway, machine, baby.
Yeah. Here's A.J. Hawk asking Dan Orlovsky about the Green Bay Packers. And again, this is courtesy of Pat McAfee show.
Yeah, Dano, the Packers obviously last night looked very good against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jordan Love, when you watch him play, are you seeing, like, he looked pretty damn good last night. What do you see when you watch him progress, like, as a player in this league? He seems to me like he is supremely confident, and I just love that he takes shots down the field and he's not scared.
Yeah, if their under center play action game is working, you can't stop their offense. You just got to hope that you can hold them down in the red zone. That's when they're at their best. Their offensive line has not played great this year, so that under center is a big deal. And then Jordan's just being really great with his decision making. This is the guy that has, for a couple years now, been crushed with his decision making, or in many people's eyes that he's been a poor decision maker. His decision making has been as good as basically any quarterback in football this year. Jordan loves.
I love that comment. His decision making has been as good as any quarterback in the National Football League this year. And I could not agree more. You guys know last year, what did we talk about? Got to fix the interceptions. And we kept coming back to, but he's playing hurt. You could tell he can't really step into the throw. He's lost his mobility. He's playing with that brace. Then he had the issue where I think he hit his elbow toward the end of the year. And then he ends up, what was it? Not a hammy, a groin, I believe he was dealing with on the backside of the season as well. All those things gave you just enough of a reason to hesitate a little bit on, like, okay, is he truly going to be one of those elite quarterbacks? Well, we went into this year, Tim, and we were talking about this. We got Emilio joining us now, too. We'll get his take in a second. Going into this year, the one thing we talked about is protecting the football. And I remember specifically saying, listen, if he gets to like 28 touchdowns and 5 interceptions or less, right? Anything over 30 touchdowns, you go to 7 interceptions, this is going to be a good football team. Lo and behold, we look up, and I think he's tracking 32 touchdowns and 5 interceptions right now, I believe. So we're in a good spot in terms of how he's making great decisions on the field. I couldn't agree more with Dan Orlovsky. What do you think, Tim?
I agree with that. And a lot of it is pre-snap, decision making too. I think that's, something about Jordan's game that I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to. The ability to check out of the run to a pass or vice versa, based on a pre-snap read, and then being able to react to that post-snap. And you may not even get to your second progression. You may just see a hot and hit it. I think Jordan's more decisive. He certainly looks like he has more command over Matt LaFleur's offense this year. And maybe last year, when he was in the process of hitting his stride, that time that he missed, having to watch, Malik Willis win a couple of ball games for us and stand on the sideline with the headset in, you got to think that maybe that had something to do with the fact that it gave him time to process the game from a different vantage point. And then once he got back on the field, despite the physical ailments that were kind of holding him back, we could see that those looks were there. Those adjustments were there. Motioning a guy when you need to, waving a guy off when you need to, all of these things based on what you're seeing pre and post snap. I think really attribute to Jordan taking that next step right now.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Emilio?
Absolutely. I think he's, just coming into his own, everything that we wanted him to be, everything that we thought he could be when we went out and picked him. You get the immediate reaction from the fans and the uproar of, why didn't you get a wide receiver? Why didn't you get an edge, whatever it may be at the time. But at this moment, through 3-4 years past, looking down the line, 5-6, as this time comes up, man, I'm just so blessed that we have him on this team. We're so lucky. The way he carries himself, the way he holds himself, brings that, that emotion to the team, but he doesn't need to be there's just a few different types of leaders, and I'm totally fine with the way he is, because I think it was Greg Cosell was saying the heartbeat of a team is or maybe it was DJ, the heartbeat of the team is the running back, but we have the leader behind center, right? And I think we're set in those ways. And he's, like we went over last night, top 10 in basically everything and probably top 5.
Yeah. Let's go to the chat, see what everybody's saying. 2-0 for this says his decision-making is due to the fact he knows he can make throws, which is why last year was so rough with the injuries. It's a great point. When you've got that confidence that you can make that throw, that you can thread that needle, that throw he dropped in the bucket to Christian Watson. I don't know if you guys have seen the still shot of that Pittsburgh Steeler completely.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty, man.
And again, I tweeted, man, what a dime piece, dropped it right in the bucket. And people were like, that was a duck. Packer fans, that was a duck. What are you talking about?
Come on, you never seen Michael Jordan hit a floater before right over the defense's hands? I mean, come on now.
Yeah. Drew D says, funny how the sacks have gone way down when he isn't injured. He also said the interceptions as well. It's a great point, Drew, right? It's like they just poof, disappeared, right? Nick McSwain says Love is a top 3 to 5 QB in almost every single advanced metric. It's just all the way across the board. Nick went on to say Shanahan doesn't let Purdy call audibles. That's wild. That's another thing I'll say, Emilio. In that game, hearing Matt LaFleur talk after the game was really, really exciting. What he said was, yeah, I seen him getting hot. I seen Jordan getting hot, and it was just like, you know what? I'm going to let him keep throwing it.
Just lean into it.
And there's still a portion of the fan base that thinks Matt LaFleur is conservative, and it's like, bro, I wouldn't have done that just because Jordan's hot. Hey, let's stick to the game plan. Let's remove the emotion. Matt was just like, you know what, Jordan, go out there and cut him up. What did he end up with? It was like 360 yards or something crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, over 350, just a dog, and 3 touchdowns. And it's the fact that, okay, your offensive coordinator, the man calling plays is your head coach. He gets final say anyway, right? So when he has that sort of faith in your starting quarterback and he's ready to let him rip, like Tim said, you get a couple vantage points when you're not starting. Me and Clay got to see Malik Willis cook it up and get it done in Tennessee. But it's like, all right, man, I wish I was out there with the boys. What can I do to get better? Knock on wood, we haven't seen that late over the middle San Fran play, right? It was the end of the game, and he didn't want have that back. But those little mistakes have gotten fewer and fewer and farther in between. He's making 20 pass records, 20 consecutive pass records. Before that one pick at home, it was, I don't know what, 9 games or something since he had thrown a pick at home. So like all these things are kind of just sort of snowballing into a good season for our man.
Yeah, really we're a long way from the old patting the ball, hanging on to it too long.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, this ball's coming out efficiently. It's coming out quick. He's extending plays when he needs to. And if it's not there, he's throwing it away or he's taking calculated risks, man. Huge steps between last year and this year.
And I honestly think he could probably take that quarterback wristband off. I honestly think he just has that on there to keep everybody else in line. Like
it's holding the tape on his thumb.
Yeah, it's a clear look.
It's just holding the tape.
It hides the thumb tape, exactly, Tim, because that man knows the offense like the back of his hand.
Really
I think him and Matt, if you had a quiz off in the offense, it would be a 98-99 sort of game.
Oh, no doubt. When we get into it here in a minute with Chalk Talk, I'm telling you, there's a couple of plays that he cans into that's just like, yeah, he's got complete command of that offense. And kudos to Matt LaFleur for giving him that freedom for sure. Clint C says Love is a keeper. Completely agree with that. Nick McSwain kind of goes back to what we were saying. I can't imagine having a quarterback that doesn't have the ability to change plays if it's a bad look. Amen, Nick. Mm-hmm. Amen. Like one particular play, and again, we're not in the huddle. We're not in the meeting room. So you can't be 100% sure. But I think what he did was he looked over to Christian, and you could see him. He throws his finger up, and he does this. And I think what he told Christian was, give me a post. So
Yeah.
I think it was probably something similar to a slot cross. They were looking to, with the slot cross, you got the number 2 will run a climb route, and then you got the dig on the backside.
Mhm.
I think Jordan looked over to that side and checked it, and they probably had something they seen on tape with Pittsburgh. So what the routes ended up being was our boy Matthew Golden, who was the 2, he starts to run that climb, and then he cuts it upfield, and Christian just turns it into a post. So I think it was one of those try to get the safety to clamp down right on the climb, and then you turn it up, and Christian's on the backside if they get too aggressive. Well, guess what happened? That guy clamped down on Matthew Golden. You look at the stats on Matthew Golden's stat line, and you go, man, he had a bad game. He caught all 4 targets. He only had 40 yards. That's one play particular that you could see that defense was clamping down on the climb or the crosser the way they were starting to clamp down on Jaden Reed last year. And guess what happens? That opens things up over the top. So Matthew Golden, make no bones about it, he made an impact on that game.
He's drawing coverage, right? He's drawing attention. And you know what? That's a nuance of the game. We talk about cans all the time, right? Like a can. Mm-hmm. And then 2 fingers to the head is an alert, right? So it's the little nuance. It could look like a can. It's an alert. Your guy knows, our guys know, and we convert. You got to love it.
And who else did that before? 12, right? And watching the tape on that one where Key got burned on that deep ball, whoever that was, caught that one. You saw Rodgers sit there, literally looked like he did a little fishing reel on his hip, and then he just said, "Okay, bam, that's all you needed." You hide it from the backers, but your dude sees it, and it's over.
And guess what that play was? It was cover 1 man.
Yeah, he saw it.
Rodgers read it. They used motion. He stopped. And then it was funny, too, because Quay held his water as long as he could. And then he finally motioned over. And once he motioned over, the center pointed and looked at Rodgers like, you see it. And he went, yep, got it. Next thing you know, he's going over the top because he knew Keyshawn was going to bite on the double move. That's a negative.
Casually walking to the line, catching a little fishing reel on his right hip. And it's like, okay, bam, I'm running a 9-corner fade, whatever you want me to do.
Yep.
I was screaming at my TV. My wife will tell you. I was like, this ball's going deep. I could see it.
Yeah. Everybody's got their own way they watch the game. For me, Mandy will tell you, and sometimes it gets colorful language. But when the ball's snapped and I see a big play develop, my go-to line is load it up. That's what I say. You can see a quarterback hits that back foot, lets that thing fly. Sometimes I add an F-bomb, and I ain't gonna lie. I'm not
Emilio's is hum that tater, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't. It gets a little colorful over here too, Clay. That's why we haven't done the old live stream during the game.
Can't do it, man. We'll be canceled so quick. Jason Y with the super chat. Thank you so much, Jason. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, I thought Jordan took an important big step forward in this game. He made better decisions under pressure, which was one of the biggest weaknesses. A great point. Great point. Now, he made one mistake. That beautiful 56-yard pass to Tucker Kraft. Boy, I bet J Love got raked over the coals in the meeting room on that one because you should not have thrown that ball. Honestly, though, I think he was trying to throw it away, and the pressure hit him, and the ball went straight up in the air, and it just so happened to fall right in Tucker's hands.
Yeah, I want to say there was some contact there, right? Or at least the rush was right in his grill.
Oh,
so
no,
it affected the throw.
Yeah, they smack him right in the mouth as he lets that thing go. But I'm completely with you, Jason. I think he's what you're doing is you're kind of flipping a weakness into a strength. I remember one time specifically, it was years ago. I mean, this was probably around if I had to guess, I'd say 2012, 2013. Somebody interviewed Rodgers and they asked him what he did in the offseason. He said, every offseason I try to pick 1 or 2 things to work on that I was bad at. And the thing he said was my play action footwork and throwing the seam route against cover 2. I remember him saying that. And I'm telling you, it was like week 2 or week 3 that year. He hammered one down the seam. And I remember it was a play action set and he hit the base. And I remember looking at Mandy and going, he literally said that was the thing he worked on this offseason. It's just wild to see it come into fruition. But anyway, thank you for the super chat, Jason. Appreciate it. Let's continue here with Dano. We got a few more minutes and we'll get into Chalk Talk, y'all.
And then, the way that they use their different personnel, you see
12.
Tucker Kraft in one-on-one situations, the way that they create Dodd for situations, the check down game for them has been really consistent. The Williams use, they've got a lot of different pieces. They don't really need a number 1 receiver. Now, let me say this.
Say it again. They don't really need a number 1.
Christian Watson being back was absolutely enormous. Christian Watson, when he's healthy and impacting their offense, just because his size and strength, they don't really have a size, speed, strength guy at the wide receiver spot outside of Christian. So when Christian's there, it's a different offense. I love the way that Jordan's been playing this year. I think he's playing the best football of his career.
Let's go down to Houston, Texas, with a huge win for them.
All right, so that's it. So again, that was Dan Orlovsky.
Almost like that guy knows ball, right? That guy you just heard talking.
Exactly. So that was Dan Orlovsky on the Pat McAfee show. So anything else you guys want to add to that? I love that he mentioned, gave it kind of a little shout out to LaFleur and his scheming ability. Obviously, man, LaFleur's on a different level. We're going to show you here in a minute on Chalk Talk, guys. It's going to make the people that are still not on the LaFleur train look real silly because he was dialing it up, man. The way he was using cheat motion to create leverage on plays, especially to Tucker Kraft, was just absolutely awesome.
The trips looks and what I was listening to Greg Cosell said, what I love about under center play action and now how it's kind of coming back a little bit more is that mesh point is so much longer and so much more hidden for the linebackers, right? So the quarterback's turning his back to him. He gets 3 yards back in the backfield, sticks the ball way out there, and then he comes in on that one I think it was a dig or a deep out to Christian. You see Love go under center, go out and sell that fake, and all the linebackers are running up to the line of scrimmage. They're sitting like 2 yards off the ball, and he pulls it, and they're, we got to backpedal. We got to start getting back, and it's over. And Greg Cosell's just like, that's why I think some of that's coming back. Obviously, you're looking point of attack, those RPOs off the shotgun sidecar. Those are nice, but the ball's right there. You're going most of the time to the other side of the line. It's just kind of predictable. So, and then again, probably your running back, how your running back likes to run too would take play in that. That's probably why we dove into pistol a little bit to give Josh Jacobs a little downhill head start.
Yeah. And with pistol, you keep the defense from keying in on a higher percentage side of the run, right? It's very, very balanced. Andy Watkins says, can we credit the O-line too? Very happy with him the past few games. That's the thing, man. Like Jordan has stayed fairly clean. We just talked about him getting hit on that throw to Tucker. But for the most part, man, I find myself, to Andy's point, I find myself going, Jordan, get rid of it, please. Get rid of it. Like you're holding it too long because the offensive line is holding up that long. It's like you're expecting something bad to happen, but Jordan just seems to get it out right on time, man. So.
It's perfect, too, considering the dynamic pass catchers that we have in this offense, right? So if you get that extra, 0.8 seconds or whatever it is, maybe it's an extra pat and you can hit a target downfield. That speaks to your O-line being able to hold up, despite all the injuries and personnel adjustments that we've had, One thing I think it has proven is that next man up mentality when it comes to the offensive line, particularly. Jordan's ready to play with whoever the hell's on the field, man. I'm not worried at all about taking a step back because somebody's down. At this point, we're 8 games in. We're used to seeing it, right? And I think if we're used to it, I think Jordan's handling it perfectly, right? He's more than used to it at this point.
Yeah, I'm glad we touched up the foundation. Went back toward the dirt back, hit some waterproofing on the side of it, made sure we sealed all that up. So I'm glad we can get that wall get going on the rest of the building there because I think you get them going, right? We've always talked about how defense gets going earlier in the season. They always get the jump when the season starts. How about the offense starts taking off here in the second half?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Definitely. So, for those of you watching this video back later outside of the live stream, let us know in the comments what you thought about Dan Orlovsky's comments there on the Pat McAfee show. Do you agree with him? Do you think that that this Green Bay offense is really starting to turn the corner and possibly getting in that elite status? Because it does feel like something changed there in Pittsburgh. And we've seen success all year long, but we want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you're notified every time we go live here in the future.